Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be continuing and finishing off the narration and character voice acting for the main story of Arknights, episode 12, All Quiet Under the Thunder. So yeah, this is gonna be the finale for the currently available main story, or the newest added main story for Arknights, and for those of you who have been with the channel for a while now, you know what is gonna be part of this final episode as always. But for anybody new to the channel, and to Arknights in general, first and foremost, welcome. And if you want to have a bit more in-detail explanation as to how you can go a bit better around with consuming the main story and what other options are there outside of just reading and or listening to the main story on this channel, wink, do refer to the part 1 for episode 12's narration playlist you can find for the entire main story in the description of the video. So just find part 1 of episode 12, you cannot miss it. It's a white background with Ines's face on it, well, mostly white background, but yeah, you can easily find it very quickly in there by the thumbnail alone, and do listen to the first couple of minutes, you will get a more in-detail explanation there. But also, not to forget, of course, as always, thank you very much for all the likes once again on the previous episode. Hopefully, I didn't spook you too much with the beginning, with that cold opening. I wanted to set the stage for what is to come in that episode, and I did abbreviate the text a tiny bit, so it was, maybe, I don't know if anybody is actually completely blindly watching through the story. Did you actually guess what the hell is gonna be happening in the episode by that cold opening? I do kind of wonder. But yeah, anyway, thank you for all the likes on the previous episode once again, and the comments as well, of course. They both mean a lot, as I always say, and they also help a lot in the algorithm, so thank you very much. But let us proceed into our quick recap of the previous part. And for those of you who want to skip that section, of course, the timestamp to get to the part right after is in the comment section below, pinned comment. You cannot miss it. But anyway, on the previous part, we once again started an episode with a jaunt through time and memory with Logos and Amatsi. That sounds like a sitcom, but anyway. The two of them are still conversing about times past, and this time around we are listening to a story about a place in Iberia, somewhere along the coast. This time we heard that the Matsi settled down with about 200 of their shards, aka their copies, and they reinvigorated essentially an entire town by themselves. Commerce, trade, just general repairs, they did everything. The town was back in shape, and some time passes, and as always, they would get bored and they would move on. Why wouldn't it get bored to them? They do not die. They do not have a beginning and an end. They just keep going. They're already done, so to speak. And once you have a life like that, I guess just a normal, everyday mortal life is kind of boring. You know? But anyway, more on that in the post section of today's story. I will be rambling. Anyway, the two of them continue their jaunt, land back in Victoria, and we switch our focus back to the hotel in Norport. And we see that everybody has been now informed that the communication device is missing for a while now, that a new plan has to be set in motion, and Ines does have an idea, but she will need until sunrise. At least. The rest of them split up. Delphine goes back to the Glasgow gang, while the Doctor and Amiya, together with Ascalon and the Trilby Asher that we know, and at least two other Trilby Ashers that joined the fray, head to the airship, because the Ashers are essentially now pushing Amiya to go and help them acquire information and potentially the airship itself, or at least the technology, because they do know that she is the young king of Sarkaz, and as the ship is probably protected by some kind of Sarkaz witchcraft, they think that Amiya knows how to deal with that. In the meanwhile, the siege team and the Glasgow gang essentially are devising a plan and setting things into motion. Essentially, they will be heading out with all the people that have been gathered at the Glasgow gym, and they will be just going through the city and trying to rally as many people as they can that are hiding away in their dilapidated homes to signal to them that this is not a mob, this is not a lynch mob, we are going, we are leaving. But we jump back to the airship as our team has now entered, and the moment the team enters, Amiya, who is obviously technically in part a sarkaz through the acquirement of certain powers and the status of a chimera, essentially, she's pretty much kind of half and half. But anyway, as the young sarkaz king and Ascalon herself, who is a sarkaz, immediately feel a suffocating, heavy presence in the ship that makes itself known very quick to them. The ship appears to not be powered by any kind of super advanced technology that the sarkaz are using inside of it. No, it is being literally powered and lifted and operated by the sheer power of a revenant. A amalgamation of souls of times immemorial, pure anger. Something that should be dead but has returned and is still there. And it's angry. It is very angry. Especially angry at Amiya, because the new sarkaz king that now stands in front of them, the young king, is not one of the sarkaz, but an outblood, a chimera, and it despises that idea. Oh boy, it despises that idea. But we got many details about, well, we got some details about the sarkaz. At least we got a number, a very big number of how many times Khaz'dal itself got raised and rebuilt consequentially. As a quick reminder, I will talk about this later as well, but as a quick reminder right here, the number that was given is not years. The number that was given is the amount of time the home territory of the sarkaz got raised. As the Revenant stated, the shortest it took was only days apart. So the number is not years, but just the amount of times they have lost their home. But anyway, the Shadow is, or the Revenant is super angry and pretty much renounces Amiya as the king, or rejects rather Amiya as the king. And Amiya rejects the path that the Revenant is taking. Like the Revenant said, she will not go the way that the other sarkaz are going, because Amiya is trying to find another way out of this mess. And just as stuff is about to what was that phrase again that Tolan used to say? As the feces is about to hit the proverbial fan? Was that it? I think that was it. But yeah, as the shit is about to hit the fan, none other than Ablana appears in the midst of everything, spreading her purple flames through the airship and attacking the Revenant, all just in a little jaunt of, I wonder how you will burn kind of deal. But she also gets interrupted, because the proprietor of the hotel comes along. Because the proprietor of the hotel, Colbert, was not the old man that we all thought he was. Colonel Sanders, turns out, is none other than another shard of the cluster that has just taken up the guise of the old man and has been just snooping about, just doing its thing, you know, enjoying the time as the old man in the hotel. But Ablana attacks him and dispels the guise, and we see our little Damazi cluster in their full glory as all hell breaks loose. The fight on top of the ship, or rather in the ship, as the ship is also lifting off once more, going into the sky, and is is above Norport Borough, purple flames just start raining down from the sky, from the battle, and they keep on falling not just onto the city and lighting it ablaze, but also onto the escaping civilians below that keep getting hit by the fire, set ablaze, and then just reanimated into husks that keep on looking towards the leader, as they are now just puppets. But in all of that confusion, and just moments prior to that, Baird, who was worried about the proprietor of the video store that they would usually, where the Glasgow gang would usually hang out around, especially Baird herself, and as she's worried about the old man, she goes to get him very quickly. The old man, however, is completely out of his mind, spooked, infected with a ripathy that has made him deaf. He's armed with a knife, and as we see after Baird enters, no food is left on him. He is but a husk of a man at this point. And as Baird manages to calm him down and almost gets him to accompany her out of that ruin of a video store, an empty can falls to the ground, which she promptly lifts up to give it back to him. But as he's out of his mind, he just grabs the knife that is in her hand and stabs her, and then proceeds to leave himself, while Baird is left there in the back, bleeding. We do see the scene later where the group led by Siege does see the old man, the man return to the group, or rather catch up to the group, but carrying Baird's very own butterfly knife that is completely bloody. And as all of them pretty much immediately realize, Baird is probably dead at this point. And they all very broken heart decide to keep going, because they do have a lot of people to take care of. But that is where we left off, so let's see where we are gonna continue today, shall we? So, as a quick little intro into how we're gonna tackle things today, obviously we are gonna continue from stage 18 where we left off last time, and continue on to 19 and then 20. Once we are done with everything on stage 20, which means the battle stage will be included, as I always include them, we are gonna make a quick stop before we go to the final scene. We're gonna make a quick stop into our collection up here on the left, read the final entry on 1220, pardon. And we are also going to proceed to read through all the 4 entries that are being unlocked through the H stages, the super hard mode stages, as I kind of like to call them. And oh my god, screw this stage. But yeah. Anyway, once we are done with all of that, we're going to read the final cutscene. And then we're gonna do the usual, or rather I'm gonna do the usual, where I'm gonna talk a bit about the chapter as a whole, characters, what was revealed, go a tiny bit into detail as much as I can, but I don't wanna bother you guys too much with that. Leave some predictions once more for the next chapter like last time, considering I have the opportunity to do so. And we shall end on the just officially on the English channel for Arknights released EP for our banner 6-star for Ines. And yeah, that's pretty much what's gonna be in today's episode. So let us begin on stage 18, titled Good Night. We received no air raid alarms today. We wish everybody the most pleasant of dreams.
Thank you for accepting my plea, Damazi. It is not a difficult wish to grant. Coincidentally, we just freed ourselves from some nastier things. A classroom. You ended up inviting us here in the end. A rational and reasonable decision, Golding. You always said you saw yourself as a teacher, after all. I think I shall die here today. You're set on this. Leto will be sad. I have to do it. Why are you so hung up on this? You're right. Why am I? I can't let go of the children. I worry that they can't find a place to belong in our current world. I can't let go of Molly either. She's a good girl, but she doesn't know how to protect herself. And of course there's Heidi, but I've left her down. I only hope she won't resent me. Probably a difficult thing to do, seeing as I've caused the deaths of so many. I deserve any resentment coming my way. Golding, you know dying like this won't change anything. Honestly, we're confused by your decision. In our long-lived experience, it isn't rare to see one embrace death, but we're still puzzled by it. We are well familiar with the words sacrifice, repellence, guilt, and perhaps even more. The final outcome always leads to death. Sorry, but this is such a futile act to us. Death holds little meaning and isn't worth such obsession. Death is just death. I know what you mean, Demazi. I understand what you're saying. If I wish to make amends for the Self-Salvation Corps fighters, perhaps the better choice would have been to live on, to care for the families left behind, to heal the suffering in their stead. But I know I can't do that. I can't possibly face all that. I'm so scared. Is facing death easier than facing your fears? Perhaps. I've always run away from things. I thought I could keep living as long as I'd avoided getting caught by the tide. But when does one finally stop running and admit that one's life has fallen apart? When does one admit that one's old life never existed in the first place? I can't bring myself to face all of this, so I'd rather choose to die before I completely succumb to my despair. Let me lie to myself just this once, Demazi. You've taken my form. Don't get the wrong idea, Golding. We don't actually like our job that much. We won't deceive those precious to you. We just want to better understand your feelings. It's a difficult emotion to understand, so we can only try to feel it firsthand. You asked me before how to live a life. How am I even supposed to come up with an answer? Then again, now that I've realized my own powerlessness, choosing to give up could also count as a choice. Right? Give up. Leto also said this before. No, it's not about giving up on yourself and letting life wash over you. It's to give up on the act of living. Give up on living, you say. All these experiences, whether they hold joy or pain, there isn't really a need to hold on to them so tightly. Right? In fact, you feel as though you're in the middle of a labyrinth. You realize the walls are in fact made of set experiences. I wouldn't even call this a struggle. It truly is the coward's choice. But at least I won't stand by their side again. Right? I'm just so tired of it all. Good night, Golding. I'm at my limit. I really am so tired. Well, at the very least, the Glasgow gang managed to reunite while I'm still here. I hope they can all get away safely.
Baird staggers to a wall and slowly sits herself down, drawing a long bloodstain behind her. Her hand is already going numb. She tries to make a fist, but to no avail.
Death sure hurts a lot, more than I had imagined. Hurts more than when Hannah socked me in the jaw.
She turns her head and spots a corpse not far from her, lean and emaciated. He seems to have died a few days ago. It suddenly occurs to her how familiar the corpse's face is.
So, this is where you ended up, Mr. Academician.
A can of meat lay close to the timid citizen, its contents completely cleaned out, without even a little bit of remaining. Baird blinks a few times at something strange by the poor man's side. From the wall to the floor is a bunch of black curvy lines, birds and diagrams. Only now does Baird realize that he had picked up another pen to write with. A better charcoal pencil, a tool far less respectable than his precious fountain pen. She touches her own pocket. The fine fountain pen that had belonged to him is still with her. It's a shame McLaren never read the final words written by this gorgeous pen. She manages to drag her body with some difficulty towards the writing on the wall and carefully makes out the tiny handwriting. She laughs and also starts coughing.
A thesis on heraldry as an application to be a fellow of the Royal Victorian Academy of Science. Mister, you choose to write this of all the other things you could have written. It's totally useless.
Baird skips over the long, stupefying paragraphs of research and references. The paper ends abruptly. After a blank page is an angry note from the man on how he had forgotten some important materials he wanted to add. His desperation shows through the broken writing that eventually fades off the page. At some point, he seems to have begun writing his wishes instead. I hope the genealogy of the Answorth family can manifest in my hands soon. I hope the editors will understand how significant my work is and increase my book advance. I hope the professor won't be angry at me. Those were just academic arguments, and I still respect him very much. Fine, if I get the chance, I'm willing to concede the debate and share some of his tea again. I'm still so hungry. I could really go for the fried fins sold on the street corner. I hope Jane hasn't forgotten me. I love her just as much as when I left her. I'm a scoundrel. I hope those kids at the gym are doing alright. I want to drink 3 million barrels of whiskey. Oh, and Sarah, I miss you. I'm sorry to have grown up into such a bad child. Bloody hell. Bloody hell, who would even grant my wishes? I've prayed as hard as I can to all the beings I know and don't. If that evangelistically berry cleric showed up right in front of me, I'd give him a trashing for sure. Alright, fine. I hope that everyone's wishes come true, that everyone can be happy, safe, and healthy to live their best lives, every single one. I hope no one will suffer anymore, or be tortured. Everyone should be smiling, and all tears should evaporate off this great land along with hunger. I hope that all of this wasn't in vain. I hope that all of this... A long scratch mark follows, and the writing stops there.
Well, I guess this is it.
Baird raises her hand with much difficulty. The pen nib is almost dried out, and she tries making several marks before leaving a short line in black ink.
I hope so too.
If you need a moment, take it. Considering that there are no extra enemies, new enemies on this stage, considering this was only a before part, we are gonna continue on to stage 1219. Titled, Fly Fireworks. When you make a wish before the flames, perhaps the gift you yearn for will fall from the sky. This is the after part, no new enemies once more, so we shall proceed straight for the after section.
I'm starting to regret this. Sneaking in here was not a good idea. The higher the place, the more complete and larger the shadows are. But this place is a little too high up.
Can you let me go?
No can do, girlie. Don't you get any funny ideas either. The ship is way too big. I'd really appreciate a cute girl helping me keep an eye out for any soldiers popping up.
Do you also call yourself a Victorian sarkaz?
No, I'm a Castel sarkaz.
Wait, but if you're a Castel sarkaz, then why are you... Aren't you working for General Manfred and the military commission?
I work only for myself. Where's the ship headed? I don't like seeing kids suffer.
I don't know. I really don't.
What exactly is your job here?
Being a sarkaz mercenary.
A sarkaz mercenary who hasn't killed before. You can't even silently draw your weapon while being captured. What's Manfred even planning to do here? Open a kindergarten?
General Manfred says he wants me to learn what war is.
Well, how's that going?
I think it's just people killing another group of people.
Congratulations, we share the same view. The ship sure flies high.
The general says it's because it's a revenant.
A revenant. So that's why. That's why Ascalon was in so much pain. Good thing they're conspicuous. The ship is still ascending. Judging by our heading, it's not flying towards the battlefield. The ship is returning to Londinium. You flew out of Londinium, fired a shot at the Duke's warship, and then stopped for a few days in Norport Borough. And now that the Dukes are on their way with their fleets, you're retreating? Seems like I need to change my impressions of Manfred. Not only is he passionate about pedagogy, but he likes to take the ship out for little drives too. Alright, you don't know anything at all. What's your name?
Paprika.
So, you're the Paprika mentioned in the report I read. You freed the workers from munitions factory number 11, and then you were caught by Manfred.
For a sarkaz mercenary, is that not honorable?
For a sarkaz mercenary, honor is the worst kind of shame.
Okay. You've been to Castle before, right? What is it like? My old captain told me that it's our homeland.
Where did you grow up?
Columbia.
No wonder. Every sarkaz that hasn't been to Castle thinks it's probably an adorable, sweet little place. That's just your own wishful thinking. Think of the filthiest, most disgusting, and any derogatory adjective you can muster, and multiply that by 100. Now that's Castle.
Sounds like most people wouldn't like it. Then why do so many sarkaz call it home?
Because they need a home. They think as long as they have a home, everything will fall neatly into place. All discrimination and persecution against them will cease, and they'll once again be able to puff out their chests in pride. It's silly.
Or maybe you think that because you're not a sarkaz.
You like to ask questions, little girl, but that's not a good habit in wartime.
I was only making a guess. Please, don't get angry. I'm just real curious. Nobody here wants to talk to me, and General Manfred is always busy. They're all so excited and always talk about doing great things, but why don't I feel it? All I've seen is familiar faces dying one by one, getting replaced by fresh faces. But when those become familiar, the same thing just happens again and again. I feel like I shouldn't be here at all.
Does it actually matter if someone is really a sarkaz or not? If everyone thinks you're a sarkaz, then you might as well grind down your horns and pretend to be one. Because you can only survive as a sarkaz. And when it comes to surviving, your feelings don't matter at all.
And that's why you joined this war with the sarkaz?
Seems like you should stay with Manfred a while longer. He hasn't taught you the most important things you need to know about war.
General Manfred lent me a book, a history of Sarkaz war.
I know the author. His name is Hodder, and he's an idiot. Sarkaz war, Victorian war, Ducal war, Royal Court war. Only an idiot talks about stuff like that. Would be arrogant enough to claim a war for themselves. I sure wouldn't, at least. War is war, and that's all there is to it.
You don't believe this war can save us all, then what do you believe in?
I believe when you're hungry, you have to eat. When you're thirsty, you need to drink. Swinging your arms around for too long will tire you out, and if I jump out this ship, I will die. I only believe in these things that can't be given meaning. Toying around with meaning is the root of all suffering.
In the same way, I believe that profits make people impulsive. Fear makes them impatient. And burning fire cannot be easily extinguished, and the resulting conflicts cannot be easily ended. Ines, as a guest, you should have greeted me first.
It's been a while, Manfred.
Indeed it has. So, why don't you stay? You can admire the scenery with us. The storm is approaching quickly. Ines and Manfred turn to look out the window. They see the smoke and dust rising in the distance, and several high-speed battleship fleets approaching. This airship high up in the sky is attracting the attention of every ducal force already stationed nearby. A sudden flash of clarity shoots through Ines upon seeing these little battleships scrambling like insects in the shadow of the airship.
You want the flames. No, the flames have already been ignited. You're just using this ship as kindling to keep it in the air. Castor, Wellington, Windermere, and maybe Normandy too. The representatives of these greedy dukes are already all gathered on this plate, while their masters' fleets observe their rivals as they make their way here. This airship is moving so slowly because you're waiting for them. You're tempting them. The dukes would rather not let the airship hide behind Londinium's robust city walls, so they'll gather here. And this is what you've all been waiting for. And perfect little shooting gallery for the Shard.
Should I be glad that Hodder's partner is so sharp? A shame you put it together so late. Men, seize her. So, what did she tell you, Paprika?
She said war is war, and that's all there is to it.
Indeed, that's all. If she could just see the big picture, just how many things surrounding war would she see? This intelligence must be delivered. Ines has to admit that the military commission has drawn up a brilliant plan. She can foresee what will happen next. The shard's catastrophe will severely damage the Duke's forces, and furthermore said damage will be credited to not just the sarkaz, but also to their respective rivals. And once Victoria's storm-bringing prowess is drawn out into the open, any country across the lands will feel fear and also fury. Every seat of power will want to destroy this one or possess it for themselves. What if at this time the dukes guarding the border slack on their duties because of their infighting? Lithuanian, Ursus, Kazimirs, and even the old Gaulish regions would never let this opportunity slip. This is only the first flame. Soon an unstoppable blaze will sweep across the entire land. Ines knows there is still time. It's not too late. As long as she can get the information out. A shadow approaches at the end of the corridor. It is not her own shadow, but the owner of this vessel. Ines, who has heard rumors from her old partner about the Revenant, is for the first time in her life glad that she isn't a real sarkaz.
Yep, shadow's still there.
The sun rises, the long night having finally passed, and the mobile plate below her casts an extremely long shadow.
Right. I should thank myself for finding such a high place. I'm guessing that a jump from here would probably kill me. Who would have thought that today, the Ines who always comes back from the brink of death is finally embracing it? Oderer and W are gonna laugh themselves to death. I hope they don't get to see me in such a wretched state.
She falls, a gale blowing through her hair, and she can hardly keep her eyes open. But it is only at this height that she can take all the shadows of Norport into her view. Only at this height can she manipulate these shadows and stretch as far as she can see. She knows that she only has a few seconds to make it, quickly falling into the shadows before her. Now, death is already lingering beyond the door. And with that, we shall move on to our next stage, the final battle stage, before we move on to wrap things up for today. 1220, titled Sincere Invitation. A face-to-face meeting that transcends even time. Alas, you did not receive an invitation. So, let's begin.
Did old Wellington send his entire reserve fleet here?
Yes, Your Grace. The Duke of Wellington seems to be fighting that ship. He must be sure of his victory.
Their frontline forces must have already exchanged fire with the sarkaz. And there's still Castor. That woman has barely ever stepped outside her demesne, but even she's not staying put this time. Just how valuable is the ship to be worth all their trouble?
Your Grace, the strategists are also recommending we obtain as much technology as we can from that airship. Whether we stand against the sarkaz or other possible rivals, such an unprecedented weapon will allow us to control an even larger airspace.
Shut them up. What possible opponents? They're inciting me to break up Victoria. I came here slowly to bring Delphine home.
They're also saying that Upper Burrow may be in terrible shape right now.
Delphine will be fine. She's my daughter after all.
Your Grace!
Haven't I said before that running inside the ship is forbidden?
Please take a look at the shadow of that moving plate. Something's not quite right. Duke Windermere takes the telescope offered by the adjutant. The shadow of the mobile plate cast by the morning sun does not resemble Norport Burrow. Is this because of the structure blocking it? Windermere thinks it strangely resembles a tower. A tower? Or a shard?
Is that the shard's shadow? How can this be? Is this a natural phenomenon, or... How long did you say it would take for the Castors and Wellington's troops to arrive?
Perhaps within the next 2 hours? A rare event indeed, for the troops of 3 dukes to all coincidentally converge near this area. According to reports we received earlier, a few other dukes are also planning their moves, so it would not be too surprising to see their warships on the move here. I've been in the army for many years, and yet this is the first time I've seen something like this.
Full stop! All units stop immediately! Get all of them clear of the area at once! Send a red flare to warn our allies! Quickly, now! Send a plain text to every Victorian unit in the region. This place could well be the target of the Shard's attack.
Alright.
Don't turn the ship. Speed it up towards Norport Burrow. I have to find Delphine before the storm comes.
Red flares blossom under the clouds, and the distorted shadows return to their original state. Impressive work, Ines. It was going to be a simple test shot, not at full power, but we have many other locations to choose for next time. I do have to admit, I have some tiny regrets. But the military commission always has more than just a single plan. Inform the Nazi King. It's time to rouse the troops. The storm will open a path for him. Ines often says death is also a tool. She would sometimes joke to Hodor that she might be getting a little too used to playing dead. But now, as she stands on death's door, Ines realizes that she feels calmer than she expected. She closes her eyes. A blaze abruptly bakes her face, along with an intense shockwave. The unique smell of the explosives is well familiar to Ines. Her lips curl up. Dust and smoke from the explosion engulfs her, with embers still retaining the heat of the flames. These embers gather, dance and weave together. Sarkaz' history is woven of embers, but occasionally other things are knitted from these smoldering remains. For example, Ines falls headfirst into a cushiony cloud of smoke and dust. A giant web of embers holds her aloft.
I never should have expected that the two of them could come up with anything better.
Hey Ines, still alive and kicking? That explosion was pretty tough, so don't blame me if any minor issues crop up. Oh man, Hoarder, let's just bury her.
Sorry to rain on your parade, but I'm still alive for now.
Killjoy. So, did you like the fireworks I set off for you? And guess what I secretly sewed into your clothes? Wow! Who would have guessed? A tracking device.
Do you think I never noticed it? Shoddy stitching, your darning skills are honestly embarrassing.
That was supposed to be a present for you, but well, I guess this way's fine too.
And these... Don't you know how difficult it is to keep clothes clean and tidy on a battlefield? And you still threw me into a ball of smoldering ashes?
You used to call my arts embers.
Not in the mood for that now.
You're pretty seriously injured.
Better than being dead.
What? Horror! You had arts to cast all along. I thought you only knew how to chop at guys with your knife. Embers? No wonder you're so unfazed whenever I throw a bomb at your face. So, are you not afraid of getting shot?
I am.
Can you fling ashes at someone else's face?
No.
Is your permanently haggard scowl a side effect of your arts?
Shut up.
How many years has it been since I've seen you in such a pathetic state, Ines?
Believe me, you'll never see me like this again.
Don't be too confident now. We might just bump into the Sanguinarch having a leisurely stroll on our way back.
W, can I ask you to swap your little hypothetical there?
What? Did you develop feelings for those crusty old monsters of the royal court after hanging out with Manfred for so long? Hey, you should be thanking me. If I didn't bump into you scutting around on my way back, you might have gotten recaptured by your old besties.
Maybe I'll head back to prison so I can at least enjoy some peace and quiet without you.
Be my guest. I'll even do you a solid and report you to Theresis.
Where are we headed?
W's safe house.
Fine, I can force myself to pretend we're going home. And also... thanks.
I wanna go back. What's taking her so long today? She's injured her leg or something. We gotta help her out. She'll be so grateful that we're bound to get a few bottles of decent beer out of it. What you standing around for? Let's move! Enough, Hannah. Norfa's a sea of flames right now. Bear's not dumb. She can keep herself safe. She's dead. What are you on about? Morgan, this is not time for a laugh. I said Baird's dead. Didn't you see that butterfly knife? It was covered in blood.
Baird always kept it on her person. There's no mistaking it. That knife in someone else's hands only means one thing.
I mean, it might be just a misunderstanding. Maybe she lost her knife or something. She's got her careless moments too, right? Not like she never lost nothing before. Remember the one year when she accidentally lost our carton of eggs? We were supposed to have fried eggs that morning. Sometimes she slips up. No big deal.
Hannah, McLaren is holding her knife. Baird went back just to look for him. He's deaf in both ears, So they probably...
Huh. They've been friends for years. You're trying to scare me. Bear probably just lent her knife to McLaren for a bit. Nothing wrong with that, right? I'll go and ask him. He can tell us. It was just a...
Hannah.
Where's he? McLaren left Norport along with us, right? So he's definitely in the crowd. We'll just ask him. This ought to be a misunderstanding. McLaren, where are you?
Hannah, he can't hear you.
I'll kill that bugger. He's dead. When I find him, I'll smash every single bone in his body.
Hannah, that's enough.
Vina, did you already know about this? Bloody hell, why haven't you...
Why haven't I gone and smashed his skull in for Baird? You think I don't want to? You think I don't want to? Because there's no meaning to it. Rubbing out a frightened deaf man makes no bloody sense at all. Hannah, I hate it. I hate all of this. I'm a fool through and self-righteous twit. Allerdale, Baird. If I hadn't involved myself in this, they wouldn't have... What did they even come back for? What did they even think I came back for?
Was this a mistake from the very beginning, born of a false sense of responsibility? How does she really see them, her friends whom she went through thick and thin, and all kinds of hardships with? Could it be that this friendship she cherishes so deeply was actually just an excuse to deceive even herself? Could it be that she, of all people, has gradually come to see herself as a king? Grant mercy, sow benevolence, and then harvest hope and reverence. What exactly did she want to achieve here? What exactly did she expect to achieve here?
Vina, we came back because we couldn't stand it. We were just watching from the side. Because this is our street, our turf, our country. You're always charging ahead, but this isn't your responsibility. We're not following you to see what kind of person you'll become. Vina, you're just our Vina, right? Of course. I'm just Vina. This I swear.
Where should we bring these people from Norport Borough? We can't let them fend for themselves in the wilderness, right? Besides, this is the heart of the battle.
These townspeople can live on my mother's land if they're willing to move. Mother has a nomadic city in the vicinity of Londinium. It's a rather tiny fortress city, but it will be no problem to accommodate them. Got any other ideas, Kader?
You know, Delphine, ever since you stopped hiding your identity, you've changed the way you speak.
I know what happened with Baird has upset you. It upset us as well, but right now, there's no need to dampen our spirits even more. I just... finally found you. Could we please have some water to drink? That Draco... We don't like those flames of hers. So difficult to extinguish. Namatsi. Ascalon, it's been a while, What did you come here for? We're thirsty. And to offer our greeting to the little king of Sarkaz here. That banshee speaks pretty highly of you.
Amiya, get behind me.
It's alright, Doctor. I've never seen our guest here in the current form, but I know them very well. They've appeared frequently in those histories. But they're always wandering outside the royal court, and they're not interested in anything except themselves. The Matzi fragment, why have you appeared before us?
So you really are a genuine king of Sarkaz, little bunny. That thing seems to have also tormented you quite a bit. Good job holding all that in your little head. while not being a sarkaz. Memory is the most precious thing to us, but it can sometimes also be our poison. So you see, we do appear to have something to talk about.
Are you also of the opinion that I'm not worthy of bearing the crown of the King of Sarkaz?
I see that talkative revenant really put you through the ringer. Don't mind it, he's never been the kindly type.
You're an ancient Sarkaz, so how do you think a king should act?
Oh, good question. We've never been one, and we don't care to bother. But we're thinking you should at the very least be strong enough. Strong enough to overcome any hesitation or doubt, yes. Oh, we're certain of something else though. You definitely shouldn't be asking us this question, little king. You have a long path ahead of you, regardless of whether you're leading the organization you call Rhode Island, or following the guidance of the Sarkaz souls. Oh, sorry, we forgot that these souls won't accept you, just like how they won't accept us. We're all different from each other. However, you'll understand at some point in the future that the passage of time is unbeatable. The kings of Sarkaz in our memories all walked the very same path in the end.
Not me. I refuse to walk that path.
Don't be too quick to refuse, Ascatus. We did think it was a nice change having a young king of Sarkaz, but it seems like you're still chained to your fate. Though we're nonetheless full of expectations for you, a non-Sarkaz king. A young king of Sarkaz who is still growing and questioning her own blood. A never-before-seen king of Sarkaz. What are you up to? We have no ill intentions. King of Sarkaz, we don't dare to claim that we're wiser than you, and we have nothing to teach you either. We only wish to extend an invitation. We seek an opportunity to thoroughly understand a unique individual. Ascalon, you will understand when you've lived as long as we have. When something you've never seen before appears right before your eyes, how could you resist reaching out to it? Oh, King of Sarkaz, please grant our perennial lives a pleasant surprise.
Alright then, and it's time to do the battle stage as always. But before we do so, we have our boss to finally introduce, even though I did already read his description on the previous stage where you couldn't fight the Matsi, but let's do that again. The Matsi cluster, a long-lived that has drifted away from the Sarkaz royal court. They have taken the rise and fall of the various races as a sort of life experience, but the cluster has yet to find the answer to what living means. And the cluster is not alone, even though technically speaking the cluster is never alone, but they come with the deconstructed distortions. The Damatsi cluster has spent their long life trying to study themselves. This intelligent and audacious long-lived has tried to surmount the limitations of the flesh and bestow life to inanimate objects, but immortality remains a difficult premise to prove. Alright, as always, this will actually be this time around. I think the last time I did it one for the main story, it was on normal difficulty because it was easier to set up, but this one will actually be on adverse difficulty. And if it looks very similar, look, I tried for a long time. I will not excuse myself here, but I tried for a long time to make something happen with like more story relevant units. This is not one of those stages where that is easy to do. So I did cave in and just looked up something, and thank you, Kyo. It is very similar to what Kyo does in his low-end guide for this stage. Just the units are higher tier and it's a bit different here and there, but mostly a very similar deployment. However, as always, I will let this play, but because this is such a long battle, I will let it play on double speed the entire way through, all the way until close to the end. Then I'm gonna slow it down so you can enjoy the slaughter, but enjoy.
武器を撃つ鍛冶師はな、そいつで流れる血まで背負わなきゃいけないんだ。黙っていろ。前に進むぞ。誰を餌にするか決まった？すぐに終わる。みんな戦いに集中して。治療は私。何を片付ければいい？誰かに気づく前にあなたの死体を影に沈めた。ターゲット。呼吸を整えてリラックスして。黙っている。さっさと片付けるぞ。呼吸を整えてリラックスして。切りつく。ここから一歩も引かない。寿司が何を片付ければいい？君たちの命は目に眩しくは映るまい。お前たちの命に火種をまく。この程度で困ると思うな。ターゲット確認。すぐに終わらせる。聞いてる。始めよう。絶望の匂いにカムフラージュできない。この手。ついてきて。ターゲット確認。すぐに終わらせる。バラージュ。すぐに終わる。ターゲット確認。すぐに終わらせる。どんな苦境でもみんなと一緒に立ち向かうから。始めよう。死の矛を持って死の盾を通さばいかん。そしたら全部ドカンだ。縛られるつもりはない。どんな苦境でもみんなと一緒に立ち向かうから。剣を抜くまでもない。治療。あの嘆きが聞こえる。治療法を見つけた。誰一人通すものか。呼吸を整えてリラックスして。嫌気にさしてくれ。すぐに終わる。制作。ターゲット確認。すぐに終わらせる。私の体の内部は1400度にもなんだよ。治療法を見つけた。 黙っている。
呼吸を整えてリラックス。
目に眩しくは
気をそらないで。
Mission accomplished.
あなたはまだ信じているのだろう。皆の命運をその手に握るとき、必ず良い結末に至れる。
I mean, this is appropriate, right? He did most of the damage. Alright then. Thank you, Mlinar. But anyway, we shall move on to the after part now. What are you looking at?
At your king of sarkaz, Banshee.
You're facing Amiya. I advise you to carefully consider your actions.
And you should do away with the curses in your hands. Relax, they've already won.
I'm grateful for our earlier exchange, Damacy. I have a clearer understanding of your methods now.
The king of sarkaz couldn't have possibly lost to our clone that had already been fried near to a crisp by Draco's flames. But we are glad to have experienced something new for the first time in such a long time. It's been ages since we've seen anything that has brought us even a speck of excitement. Be proud of yourself, Banshee. You've convinced us, and we'll be more than happy to keep this new possibility of yours, though we're still not very optimistic about the direction this possibly is heading. But to us, time and patience are two things we have more than plenty of. We will meet again at the next finish line.
Where are you going next?
We've never gone anywhere on purpose, we merely wander the land.
You've mentioned before, Damacy, that you've pretty much exhausted all possibilities.
Yes.
But there remains uncharted territory for you.
Oh?
Everything on this great land is constantly evolving, while you stay just as you always have been, imitating the fruits of evolution. Yes, you've never gone anywhere, and yet you're already complete. So of course there can be no progress in something that's already been completed.
How persuasively provocative. And what do you suggest?
You've already guessed it.
Heralding our deaths, you do live up to your name, Banshee.
From death comes new life.
Indeed, we've never tried this before. We just bid goodbye to a friend at a place not far from here. She said that she would rather give up living than to let life wash over her. We felt her emotions, we saw her determination. She claimed it was the choice of a coward, but we felt something else. We could barely put it into words then, but now we know that it also took a certain kind of courage. The kind of courage we've never considered before. Well, alright. Banshee, we admit it. We've begun looking forward to this. This might be just an innocuous scheme of yours, a clumsy method of ridding yourself of an enemy. But that doesn't matter to us. Or maybe the souls are merely borrowing your voice to provoke us.
Need me to help you?
How about you leave us with some decency? Though you ought to sound the death knell for us. You sure are a tenacious and brave bunch. Celebrate your victory.
This can't be your full power.
What? Are you not entertained, Doctor of Rhode Island? Or maybe that's unnecessary? Maybe we actually understand you on a level beyond your worst estimates?
Do you also have a clone on Rhode Island?
Relax, Doctor. Your ship's onboarding inspection is not as easy as it seems to slip through. Alright. Goodbye, all.
What are you planning?
What else can we do with our broken body? We've stayed in our original form for long enough. Tiny King of Sarkaz, where will you go next? Where will you bring these people who trust you, follow you, protect you? Will you do as Buldracasti prophesied and enslave everything across the lands? Or will you prove that it is only us who have been bound too deeply by the chains of history? Evolution, a tricky word indeed, implying an inevitable progress, though it may not be. But no matter, you will find your path, and us as well. He dissipated. No, the Ramatzi won't die. His other, more complete and stronger self is probably just around the corner. This is a typical tactic of his, to have the prey let down its guard and then come in for the kill. A bone whistle? How can this be? Logos sees the bone whistle as a lamentable tradition of the royal court and has always refused to sound it as his predecessors have done. But this is indeed a bone whistle from the master of Knells. The Ramatzi cluster is dying.
The elegy has sounded, the bone whistle dawn wailing. I serve as a witness to a sarkaz, the Ramatzi, and his cluster. From death comes new life. A bone whistle. How long has it been since we've had the Lord of Banshees grace our court to sound the bone whistle? The Ramatzi cluster has died. Fret not, the Ramatzi has only encountered a minor setback. He'll soon... No, what I mean is, every Ramatzi fragment is simultaneously decaying. The Ramatzi dies, and our long-lasting royal court will collapse. How interesting. I think that he himself never imagined that it would end like this. How should I describe it? A split into halves? Or the birth of two new lives?
The ancient Ramatzi no longer exists. And two newborn Ramatzi have appeared in this world. Sand in nature is regarded as the final state of all things. No matter how strong a boulder may be, it turns to dust at the end of the line of time. But then again, the sand may also hold the possibility of starting a cycle of reincarnation anew.
Kal'tsit, your wounds are still healing. Move another inch and I'll tell Shining.
I'm already fine, for the most part. An old friend might locate us soon. No, I should say a new friend now.
I don't want to meet any of your old or new friends. There's good news and bad news. Pick one. Wait, I sure am tired. Why do I think you would be up for a stupid game? The bad news is...
Give me the good news.
The bad news is that we didn't find the entrance to the sarkaz supply route in Brentwood. There was no underground tunnel at all, but there was a passage used for inspections. Wait, you... Huh? Huh?
I said, give me the good news.
Shining!
I like to hear positive news sometimes as well, Closure.
The good news is, we managed to get in touch with the doctor. Thank you for your assistance, Duke Windermere. We've managed to re-establish our communications channels. The refugees we brought have all boarded the ship, and they'll be under the Duke of Windermere's protection for the time being.
I should be the one thanking you, Rhode Island. You've helped the townspeople of Norport Borough escape a disaster. Not all of them, but it's enough. Protecting the people is what we, those who bear the title of Duke, ought to do. And you even saved my daughter. She was just bawling in her room earlier.
Mom! I was only...
I can guess what you've all been through the last couple of days. But Delphine, perhaps you have come to better understand how those in power should wield authority.
If I may be so bold, Your Grace, how are you planning to use your power? After witnessing the fate of the Steam Knights, I'm not sure...
I had to make a strategic decision, daughter of Montague. You may call it a plot, and I won't deny that I signed my name on the Steam Knights' orders. But to decide the future of this country is exactly our duty.
Duty.
Yes, Miss Vina, duty. You understand why I'm addressing you that way?
Of course. If you'd excuse me, Your Grace, for now I would rather be with my friends.
As you please. Now then, Doctor of Rhode Island, I believe we can't avoid discussing the object your operator is carrying.
We can't avoid. King Sika.
I knew it wasn't my imagination. Anyway, it's impossible to ignore her and the sword she's carrying. Delphine told me about your deal with her. Even though there were some twists and turns in between, I'm sure that deal remains valid.
Don't tell me you're becoming a supporter of Rhode Island.
Of course. But I promise you that for now, I'll act as if nothing happened. We can talk this out slowly when we return to my Demesne.
Kader didn't get on the ship. He left with a bunch of people. And Hannah? She's still in her room and refuses to come out. Let's get her something to eat. She's barely had a decent meal in Norport. Yeah. What are you burning? A bunch of drafts. Notes I say for writing inspiration. But I forgot where I dropped my memoir notebook. Siege, you don't need it, do you? We don't need it anymore.
Sure.
Siege, are you crying?
No, I just...
Heavy tears roll down Siege's cheeks, while Morgan and Dagda are both stunned in their common consensus. Vina has never shed a tear before. On the deck of this high-speed battleship, the Victorian sun is still slowly rising, sweeping the haze and evaporating the mist from last night. And this youth-cold Vina, with her back to the sun, is expressing her emotions without a word.
I just got ash in my eyes. Norport will return to her old self. The people are still there after all. We'll get our old lives back. Eventually. We just need patience. A little more of it. Vina, the war is going to end, right?
But we are not here done yet. We have a couple of things to go over with before we go to our final cutscene now. And that is to start with what was unlocked here in the Cleaner's Collection with the completion of stage 12-20. And on 12-20 we get the unknown butterfly knife. Yep, it never ends. And it reads, "This beautiful item was a gift given to me today by a colleague who came by to bring me some wine. Though I said gift, he in fact didn't dare to lay hands on it at all, and could only throw it at me. Oripees just like the devils. Nobody knows where they came from. It laid ruin to the once thriving Norpor borough. Everyone has become paranoid. Everyone fears they'll be infected the next time they wake up. An aura of death lingers thick in the air. Who knows if this knife has been stained with those disease-causing things? After all, we both saw that guy using it to carve those black stones growing from his body, bit by bit. We were all worried for that guy. Afraid that his screams would attract the devils. Afraid that the two of us would get implicated for no reason. My colleague wanted to drag me away, but I was so scared I couldn't move a muscle. And I knew why. That man was McLaren. So kind and wise. Why would he do something so terrifyingly stupid? McLaren did in fact end up summoning the devils that day. A small squad of them walked by, mocking and jeering at the poor bastard on the ground. I saw with my own eyes that poor bastard frozen in place at their feet, his crying turning to laughter, his voice becoming fainter and fainter. Those bloody devils just stood there and continued to watch, unwilling to even put him out of his misery. Looking back at it, I'm pretty sure McLaren was loudly muttering something before he died. A pity nobody but the squad of devils knows what he said. Even after becoming an infected, isn't being able to cling to your life, no matter how briefly, a form of fortune in itself? Would digging all those black crystals out make him clean and free from disease? Why couldn't he figure it out? When my senses returned to me, my colleague had already disgustedly passed McLaren's knife over to me. Only then did I see that the devils were gone, and McLaren had breathed his last. To be honest, holding his butterfly knife in my hand gives me no pleasure. It always reminds me of that poor man who went mad. The only good news is the Glasgow logo on the handle of the knife. Who knows, I might be able to pawn it off right away, or trade it to those bastards for something nicer. I don't want to end up with that damned Originium disease and die like McLaren did. And for the knife it says, Baird still remembered that when she showed off her new butterfly knife to the Glasgow members, Indra suggested making it gang property and stamped her seal onto its hilt. Although the two of them got into a fight over this, according to Weena, Baird seemed somewhat open to the idea. Then for the completion of the H stages, and yes, I will add the title, even though it's one title across all of the H stages, I will still add it in the descriptions, but first we shall go over the entries that are being unlocked with each stage. For stage number 1, we have the plate started rumbling since a week ago. Today's just the second day since the shaking stopped. The Union has already been completely cut off from the other plates, though in the past, most of our activities were confined to Norpor. It's no secret that we'd also head to other plates under the cover of night for purposes that need not be reported. But now that the blockade of Norpor is a certainty, everyone in the Union already has the sense that the darkest days are yet to come. Quite a few of my colleagues heard news that war had already broken out beyond the plate, and that no small amount of valuable Victorian military equipment had started to pile up into little mountains. But none of the people trapped inside the city ever heard the sound of battle, and I couldn't help but to feel that whoever spread this news was messing with us. What war were they talking about? Clear as day that it was completely quiet outside in the streets, but deep down I couldn't set aside all those valuables just outside the city walls. So, at night I used my familiarity with the city to slip past those scattered devils and snuck out of the city. And what ended up happening was nothing. And what ended up happening was nothing but an empty, pitch-black wasteland outside. When I got lost, I nearly bumped into a living person. Scared me so bad I tried to duck and take cover. But before I could even get my ass down, something went off next to me with a bang. Mud, grass, rocks, and a whole pile of wet, mucky what else got blasted into the sky. Then came splashing down all around me. I was so scared I fled back towards the city. It was only when I was heading back that I found a mound of dirt full of chunks of flesh, where this flashlight with markings of the Victorian army was. Looks like there really is a war out there. Couldn't fall asleep that night, even after 2 drinks. That's when I swore on my life to never leave the city again. Today I used the flashlight as evidence to stamp my reputation in front of my colleague. I got a lot of information firsthand. First, there really is a war out there. Second, you can make a whole lot of money by leaving the city. Huh, how I love seeing that greedy glint in their eyes. On stage number 2 for the hard mode stages, we get this lovely thing. And it says, "Tonight I finally have a chance to take my child down to the cemetery for a proper burial. Those bloody devils have been ramping up their patrols more and more these days. The cemetery used to only be accessible to noblemen. At some point I even wanted to receive a dignified burial here myself. Never could have imagined this is where I'd end up, letting such a damn tragedy befall my lovely child. I'm sorry, my son. I never should have told you those fibs I made up. Had I never boasted to him about the grand and epic tales of how I led our Victorian soldiers into the alleys to mop up the devils, my poor boy might not have... No, he definitely wouldn't have died trying to be the hero when that blasted devil smashed down his neighbor's door. But it made me so happy when he looked up at me with adoration in his eyes. He was the only thing that made this empty life worth living. I did more than enough to protect him. He just didn't know what those bloody devils are like, or about what this bloody war is about. He was just happy he had a heroic father. I'm the most cretinous idiot ever to walk these lands. I should have anticipated the risks of doing that a long time ago, but I stood by and didn't do a damn thing. I should have come clean a month ago, when he said right before bedtime that he wanted to go slay some devils with me. I had a bit too much to drink that night, and even though my legs were shaking, I didn't have the courage to face my lies. No, I didn't just do nothing. I went and made the biggest mistake of my life. I tried to dispel his unrealistic dreams of heroism through intimidation. I took the job of cleaning up on the front lines from my compatriots, relying on the good old technique of hiding under a pile of dead bodies during the cannon fire. I cut off the horns of a bunch of devils and snuck them away when nobody was paying attention. On his birthday, I gave him a few of these severed horns as presents. He cried that night and never mentioned those bloody devils again. I naively felt that not only had my goal been accomplished, but he actually looked at me with even more admiration. I really felt like a mighty hero. I heard that the guy I replaced was also executed by the devils not long ago for defying the military commission. Some hero that makes me. Imagine if you have a father who is serving in a war and he comes back from the war. Might have not accomplished too much, but he comes back with like a plastic bag of ears. Jesus H. Christ. To further add to this, in the bag, while these little tags are not really legible, this torn off piece of paper says, "Don't forget boy's birthday, 11/12. My man. Anyway, we move on to our next piece, and it says, "I don't know when it happened, but I don't think I can live without this little book anymore. All I remember is carrying it on me like this seems to be a habit I picked up during my last stint in jail. When those scary devils first came to our land, life didn't seem to change all that much. But one night when I went out to the streets to search for some small baubles, I was caught by the patrolling devils and thrown in prison. It was then that I realized the place where I lived my whole life really had changed hands, but after that those devils never showed up again. Instead, a few Victorian gentlemen showed up to interrogate me every day about where some hat was. But there are so many hats on this plate. How am I supposed to know where the hat they're looking for is? They then tossed me this little notebook and told me to write down all the places where a hat was. Do you have any idea how hard that is? Hundreds, if not thousands of hats had been passed through my hands in this line of work. How am I supposed to finish this? I have kids back home I need to take care of. So I just wrote down the locations of all the hat-wearing corpses I cleaned up, and even listed the little baubles I secretly dug out. That entire week I was in jail. The gentlemen said they had never seen me be so meek and cooperative before. Huh, being meek and cooperative can save your life. When I was released, they threw me out right in front of the devils. Thinking back about it, that attitude came in handy twice. In the time after I was released, one of the gentlemen came up to me secretly and warned me not to go out to work at night. It wasn't safe, he said. He also said he knew who I was from the very beginning, a poor fellow, hard at work on the streets all year round. Even said he had been taking good care of my kid back home this week. To this day, I'm still extremely grateful to that man. Before the devils showed up, it was never this easy to get out of jail after getting thrown in, and even harder to meet such kind-hearted people. I can assure you, our fellow Victorians are good people who can be trusted. After I got out of jail, I realized it wasn't a bad idea to use the notebook to record my daily earnings. It's basically a habit at this point, right? Just like my work. And we continue on to our final unlock in here, which is a folded off Victorian flag. And it says here, to the Victorian citizens of Norport Borough. During the joint assault between the Duke of Wellington, the Duke of Castor, and the Duke of Windermere, we have largely broken through the blockade of Norport Borough. The light of Mother Victoria once again shines upon her dear child. Though there are still sporadic sarkaz troop activities in the city, most of the area is already under our control. Citizens of Victoria, you are now safe. According to our statistics, during this small-scale turmoil, Victorian troops suffered 32 casualties, 291 injuries, 464 MIA, totaling 787 souls. In Norport Borough, there were 2,154 civilian casualties and 6,473 injuries. And we are in the process of tabulating more detailed data. The Duke's forces are also quickly mobilizing to provide relief to affected citizens. We pay the utmost respects to everyone who made sacrifices in service of glorious Victoria during this battle, soldier or civilian. All surviving Victorian citizens, please ensure your safety by reporting to nearby Victorian troops as soon as possible, and accept the protection of the Dukes. Though I am but an ordinary military clerk, I was touched by the sincerity of your emotions the moment I set foot on Norport's plate. I had the privilege of witnessing an ordinary citizen sacrifice himself in a blaze of glory to save a flag bearing the insignia of our great Mother Victoria. What an inspirational display of bravery and patriotism. As such, I now call upon, in my personal capacity only, citizens of Victoria and Norport Borough, please follow the examples of those who have sacrificed themselves out of love so that our compatriots will never again be slaughtered, so that our progeny will never again be trodden upon. For the sake of a freer future, rise up and unite. Join the Duke's forces and let us fight against the vile sarkaz and usher in the glorious victory of Mother Victoria. The only thing missing to that text is, do you wanna know more? Enlist today, fight bugs! Anyway. We do have a tiny bit of text here on the flag. I cannot read the last word, it's very illegible, it's just an S and a T, but it says, please send my body back to ST, and then the rest is smeared out. Sure, he was protecting the flag because he wanted to protect it for Victoria, sure, totally not for this. But anyway, that is all of the unlocks in here. And just to add to all of this, let's go through the titles, or rather the descriptions of the stages, because the titles are all the same. Once again, we have something from Greek mythology. This time around, it's Operation Astrapi. And once again, very appropriately named, or rather more than so appropriately named. However, I find it very interesting after looking it up, because the name was familiar to me once again, why they left out the other name out of this. Because in Greek mythology, Astrapi and Bronthe are the goddesses of lightning and thunder. They are members of Zeus' entourage, and they were his shield bearers, given the task of carrying his thunderbolts along with Pegasus. It does make sense that they went with Astrapi, because if I am not completely incorrect, Astrapi was associated with the lightning and Bronthe with thunder. And yep, makes sense that they went with this one, because we did open with a shot of what could be poetically described as lightning in the sky. But anyway, as for the text here, it reads, "Whoever said that the battlefield is only where the cannon fire reaches." On stage 2 it says, "Large numbers of refugees are pouring towards the safe zone. We need more support." On number 3 it says, "The tide of battle can change in an instant, but the gushing tides of people is the greatest cover for the sarkaz." And on number 4 it says, "The thunder is silent, and the long night is without light, but Victoria's glory must stand eternal." Alright, and now for the finale. One quick thing here before I start off with this cutscene. I did try to get Morgan ready with her operator record. However, I'm missing like 15% on her, and probably won't have time to finish this. But do expect her operator record to be up on the channel at some point over the weekend after this goes up. But anyway. 12:21. Quiet on the front. The horns of battle are yet to be blown. The soldiers are afraid to even gasp for air. The catastrophe cloud in the sky has not yet dissipated. Should you take off your gloves, you would be able to feel the originium dust in the air scratching the palm of your hand. The Nachtseer King sits atop his throne, casting his eyes across his army. The Nachtseer's army will not be shaken. The Nachtseer's army will not show weakness. They pass through the storm, beyond injuries and over the carcasses of compatriots and enemies alike. The sarkaz continue to march until the enemies of the Nachtseer King are completely crushed. They have no right to stop. They are war itself. Your Grace, we've sustained heavy losses. Nearly a third of the high-speed battleships in the Vanguard Squadron have been incapacitated. We're trying to turn the situation around, but the outlook isn't positive. That violent catastrophe just slammed into our front line all of a sudden. It's very difficult for us to conduct standard operations in these high-density originium zones, and the exposed active originium clusters greatly limit the maneuverability of our high-speed battleships. But the sarkaz forces don't seem to be affected much. They don't care at all. Most of them are already infected. The Nachtseer's troops are also fielding some witchcraft contraptions we've never seen before. The chaotic fissures they spew out are tricky to deal with. We're still looking for countermeasures. Hold the line. Have the artillery in the rear lay suppressive fire and open up a gap to the east. It shall be done, my lord.
No mercy for poor Windermere, eh, Duke Wellington? She just bailed out the fleet we sent to claim our plaything, and you're going to repay the favor by driving the sarkaz onto her turf?
I don't remember giving you permissions to tap into my communications caster.
As stiff as always, aren't you? I will remind Windermere to take adequate preparations. After all, we are still Victorians. I know what you're after, old Wellington. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Next time, I hope you'll find a more appropriate manner of exchanging ideas with me.
Your Grace, you shouldn't continue standing on the deck like this. Though we're a fair distance away from where the catastrophe struck, the dust can't be good for your health.
This is my duty, Your Royal Highness Ablana.
You are always worthy of my trust. Those two siblings are being extremely cautious. This is not the full extent of the Shard's might. They either don't want us to know that they haven't fully mastered the Storm's power, or they're waiting for a better opportunity.
This storm should have belonged to Victoria alone, but now we will be first to face it.
I hear the officers murmuring amongst themselves nervously, Your Grace, but you don't seem flustered. If anything, you seem to be rather excited.
Indeed, milady, I won't deny it. This battlefield commands fear and respect. When is the last time I faced an enemy like this, since Gaul's view Vanguard? We've long been ready for this. Regardless of whose hands it is in, the storm will only serve to wash away hesitation and weakness from the Tarans, and it shall temper our young troops. I can see him, the Notzer King. Let us drop all pretense and face each other in battle. The Tarans will not be stopped here. Our rage is no less than yours. Your Royal Highness Ablana, I shall secure a future for you and the Taran people.
My faithful Duke. Very soon the final chapter will be written. Welcome, Lady Ermengarde. With your arrival comes the goodwill of the Liches. We will never forget, at the moment the Sarkaz needed unity the most, the Liches chose to leave their library and stand at our side. No need to be so formal, Your Highness. I am simply an observer. But you still brought us a gift, and the soldiers on the front lines will put it to good use. It is but a trifling trick to play with the fishers. The Lich's mastery over dimensional space transcends most people's cognition. Naturally, unlike your people who've always been in Kazdil, we Liches are keen on self-preservation, always looking for a place to hide our philanthropy. But the Lich's throne has never been removed from the royal court's chamber. We appreciate your Highness's thoughtfulness. I assume you know that Kal'tsit paid me a visit on my way here? She tried hard to convince me not to take your side. The young master of the Regaic court is fighting alongside them. I've heard the teachers say before that the Banshee's strength is not to be overlooked. Dame Kal'tsit claimed that the war you and the regent started will only push these lands into irreversible disorder and strife. These things are only temporary. We have no choice but to endure. This is the only way the consensus needed for solidarity can be built. Huh. Want to know what the funniest thing is, Your Highness? Your words sound just like hers. You both call for unity. You both tell me that this is the only way to avert the impending calamity. Kal'tsit. Then, why do the two of you stand in opposition? Perhaps because we're both in a hurry. Rest assured, as a messenger of the Lich King's court, I didn't make any promises to Dame Kal'tsit. Just like how I haven't made any promises with you. We Liches are never in a hurry to pick a side for ourselves. Of course. These languishing pains and broken hearts, at long last, they will eventually have a home to return to. Not much longer now. Amiya, will you be able to find that path?
Episode 12, All Quiet Under the Thunder. End. But damn those officers! They'd rather bring along a tusk beast than us. Who the hell does he think he is? Back in the days before I got sick, he didn't even dare look me in the eyes. Damn it all, this bloody ripathy! I'd rather go without those Rhode Island people's inhibitors and blow up in a cloud of originium dust over in Norport. At least I'd be able to give those freeloading bastards a faceful. I got a good taste of what I'm going through too. Huh, that cultist gave me an inhibitor too. These bloody pills aren't gonna save shit. I'm done for. Can't leave this place. My life isn't worth a damn thing. What was the point of crawling out on Norport? These damn crystals, these damn originium crystals on my body. Run me through, damn it! Run me through already! The infected citizen angrily scratches at the originium crystal on his arm, as if crushing them would make everything go back to normal. Severe pain rips through him, and the newly infected person gasps for breath. He is overwhelmed by the pain that had just become familiar to him, and a mixture of tears and sweat rolls down his cheeks. He lies on his back in a patch of mud. Before his eyes, the sun has risen to its zenith. Before he closes his eyes, a strand of pink hair suddenly breaks into his vision.
This is no place to be sunbathing, sir. The mud's going to get in your clothes.
Get away from me. I'm an infected and might explode any minute now.
Huh. If I had to guess, I don't think you've had a ripathy for more than a week. Everyone looks just like you the first few days. Shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and depression. In the end, they have no choice but to accept that they are a miserable, helpless lot.
The hell do you know? You're
also an infected. What's so strange about that?
You're also an infected? But you look so... Oh, wait, I've seen you before.
Hello, sir. My name is Percival, and I'm the doorman at the Sunset Street Hotel. It's a shame, but it seems you don't have much luggage for me to carry.
No, I meant in Norport.
Hmm? Now that is awfully quaint.
I was with the mounted police for quite a few years, Miss Percival. I've been involved in a number of cases, some of which involved the infected as well. Huh, I should have thought twice about how I treated them back then. Now I'm one of them. I've heard of an organization whose activities have reached even the doors of Londinium. If I remember properly, they were called... Percival? What are you doing here?
Oh, Red. I found an infected on the side of the road. Must have been one of those people thrown here by the Duke of Windermere.
Another one? Truth be told, Percival, had you not sent out the news that the separation sequence between Norport and Londinium was underway, the fate of these infected people might have been even more miserable.
I've always been a sharp one, and quite proud of it.
Thanks to you figuring it out, you even managed to hide our comms as a Londinium public broadcast. You should be glad. I have the good habit of tuning into the radio.
It's not as easy as you make it sound. I had to dismantle the communication station in the hotel before I could finally find a place to pass on the news. But Rhode Island and the Delphine lady did get the short end of the stick as a result.
Who exactly are you people?
Have you ever heard of Reunion?
Reunion? Did you just say...
Whoa, the whole gang's here.
Well done, Percival. We've taken in a number of infected persons along the way, and they're doing much better than we initially expected.
Red was doing most of the hard work. I've pretty much just been slacking off. And though I don't want to admit it, Rhode Island also played a big part.
Rhode Island. So they're here too.
Reunion. I know what you people have done. What kind of disaster are you trying to invite upon Victoria this time?
You have the wrong idea, sir. We are the ones who gathered the debris from the ashes of the previous reunion. But we are no longer what we used to be. We will not abandon the name, nor the sins it carries. We must remember our past mistakes, but must also set out once more to prove ourselves to the infected. The new reunion no longer needs a leader. We've traveled across several countries, fighting side by side with the infected peoples, who see themselves as our comrades.
What exactly are you trying to do?
Medicine and compensation cannot help the infected in a way that matters, but solidarity and strength can. Sir, the infected have no country of their own, so the new reunion shall be where they belong. Interested in joining us?
Tallulah? What are you looking at?
The lingering catastrophe cloud. The shard has been activated.
There's gonna be a lot more infected soon. I also have a message for you, Tallulah. I saw a Draco who wields purple flames.
Did you know? Percival, I often find myself thinking these days. Indeed, there is a certain kind of person that seems naturally born to make waves. They will claim to be their catalysts, leaders, and creators. In a sense, they tend to find success, but I would never call them winners. I refuse to accept that everything they've made deserves to enter the annals of history. I refuse to accept it.
Alright, and this is where we're gonna end today. So, like I said before, there's still one more piece to this, which is Morgan's operator record that I, as of this recording, have not seen yet. But I'm missing a couple % there to open up the thing. She is promoted and ready, just needs a couple of more hours of grinding, which I'll probably do over the weekend and upload the thing then and there. So please look forward to that one. I'm also looking forward to see what the hell is gonna be in that one, considering how and when we end it. Is it gonna be something taking place during the story, prior? I guess we'll see. But anyway, for those of you who are gonna be jumping off here before I start rambling ahead, thank you very much for listening and watching this. There's gonna be obviously more after this on the channel. We are getting a huge story right next. Pretty much next week, if everything is as the data mining is providing, but we will see that fresh and fresh on Monday morning, I guess, when they usually post that stuff, at least Monday morning for me. So we'll see, but yeah, Lone Trail is a humongous story from what I've been made aware of very recently as well, and oh boy. I am dreading how many parts I'm gonna have to make for that thing. But anyway, like I said, thank you for watching and listening. If you're jumping off here, please consider leaving a like. It will help me up a lot in the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Like I said, there's gonna be more, and there is much more on the channel if you just want to sit back and listen to the Arknights stories. But anyway, time to ramble. Okay, so, oh boy, this has been a chapter. But yeah, this is the like both the stab in the gut and rising back from the ashes, kind of organizing, pretty much the run away from thing before facing the thing again, properly prepared this time around, kind of thing. We have stormed the Demon King Castle way too soon. That fucker is level 99. Anyway, jokes aside, what a chapter. Jesus, so much death. Holy shit. And can I just say, why was I right? Why was I right? God damn, that Golding scene, the moment when I was reading that part by myself, the moment she popped up and the background was the background they use for the orphanage's like classroom, or just in general for the orphanage, I was like, oh fuck. Oh fuck. But yeah, and the scene doesn't even end there. Jesus Christ, they went for double. they went for the double gut stab, right? First the scene with Golding dying, and Damacy just letting her die in peace, and then immediately after, Baird and her death scene. And yeah, let's confirm, Damacy is 100%, sorry, not Damacy, Jesus, names. Golding, right. Golding is 100% dead, as confirmed by Damacy. There is no hopium copium that she is gonna be back. I also got my reunion. The one spark of light and happiness in this whole goddamn chapter, right? Holy shit. But yeah, I got 2 things right, and maybe half of the other one? I mean, my prediction was that either Allerdale is gonna be somehow back piloting the mech, but the mech, or rather the Steam Knight, appears to be still the old Steam Knight that we met in the underground catacombs, rampaging through the streets and everything. So, is she still around? There's still, like, half a hope there? Maybe. I kinda wanna see if she's gonna do anything, if she's actually still alive. But again, we'll see in the next chapter. No idea. It's gonna be a long wait until then, but poof. But anyway, almost got all 3 things completely right. I hate that. So I'm gonna be making later a couple of new predictions for the next chapter. Let's see if those are gonna come through. But before that, man oh man, there's been some interesting developments. First and foremost, the scene with kal'tsit and W, where she pretty much just talks about the sarkaz being, and I elaborate already there, so I'm not gonna go too deep into that once again, but yeah, the whole establishment of that the sarkaz are obviously a mix of a bunch of races just under a single name, that they have been the only, all those races were the only like humans on the planet, or rather World Terra, whatever. She's leaving a bit of biggest there, but they were the only ones present in Days Old. But then something else came along, started slaughtering them, and they named themselves, in a sense, after the thing, as an abbreviation of the name, a mockery of the name, essentially, and are now all under the same name. But yeah, interesting. That's one thing. The other thing, the other big thing, came from the Revenant itself. That cloud of hatred. 3 big things to take away from that whole thing. Number 1 is a full-on, 1,000,000% confirmation about something that I think we've all speculated, that the Guide Ahead story was already kind of pretty much on the nose, telling us that Sancta and Sarkaz are very related, and here we actually got the full 1000% confirmation of, yes, the Sancta are former Sarkaz that split themselves off from the rest of their group. And as we know from the Guide Ahead story, they are under new government, to put it that way. But for more on that, I would highly recommend Guide Ahead, especially because in like a month and a half from now, roughly, we're gonna have the next event that takes place after Guide Ahead. I think at least it takes place after Guide Ahead, which is and I don't remember the name, but it's the it's the event that comes with, or rather the side story that comes with the Executor altar. So, oh boy, ready to learn even more Danker shit. Literally I think almost every single story that is coming in the next couple of months is a new story, that is literally like bombshell after bombshell after bombshell of information. I think we were at a point where everything was built up properly and now we're just receiving everything. But yeah, coming back to the Revenant. So number 1, Sarkaz and Sancta are literally the same thing. Same essentially group of people, just they split themselves off, which explains why they grow horns once they are rejected out of their system, essentially. You know? It makes sense now. But we also learned a couple of other things, and this is one of the things I didn't elaborate or didn't want to linger for too long in that video, so let's go over this. The Revenant talks about a certain number of times that Kazdel got raised. And I want to emphasize this, it's not telling us the number of years that Kazdel is around for, or the Sarkaz in general are around for. It's telling us the number of times that their home territory got razed, destroyed to the ground, and then consecutively after that built up again. That number doesn't stand for years, but for the number of times it got destroyed. And it made specifically clear that it's the number of times it's destroyed, but literally I think it started off by telling Amiya that the shortest interval between these raisings was essentially a couple of days apart. So you can't really extrapolate years from this, but you can kinda guess. The number was in the thousands, so that is a long history of just loss and rebuild. And the final portion to take away from that conversation between those two was essentially the part where, first off, the Revenant rejects Amiya, and Amiya rejected the path that the Revenant and the Sarkaz are taking on, because she has still her own ideas in mind what to do and how to proceed. And yeah, we shall see how that is gonna shape up with. And the other really big thing, and I am really surprised how interesting the character turned out to be. Like, first time when Damacy appeared, didn't really think much about the character, right? We didn't have much to go on outside of the fact that Damacy can shapeshift into someone else, and pretty detailedly shapeshift into someone else, but yeah, we didn't really get anything specific out of them. Just that they are probably just a tiny little asshole spy. But holy shit, this chapter. This chapter made Damacy into probably one of my most interested in characters in general. Like, holy shit, this guy. First off, one entity that is split across multiple copies of itself, that are all linked together, all know what the other ones are doing. Essentially, it's one mind that is just spread across multiple bodies, and it can, if need be, just focus on a single body if they need, like, to deal with something troublesome. So that's already mind-breaking. Comparing Damacy to the Seaborn as well is a big one, because the Seaborn, like I think I said in that episode as well where that came up, the Seaborn are essentially individuals that are pretty much just loyal and kind of perceived. You could kind of perceive them as brainwashed to a sense, to a degree, where they just follow pure instincts essentially, and they don't understand how others work, compassion and stuff like that. Compassion, love, humor, yada yada, you know, the usual stuff. But very interesting, Damacy comparing itself to them, being kind of similar, but completely different beings still, considering, you know, one single entity across multiple bodies to multiple bodies that are just driven on instinct, essentially. But the other big thing to take away from Damacy is a long-lived being that has lived alongside humans for so long, taking the role, or rather, essentially role-playing people that they meet and transform themselves into, and then just live out a normal life as that person, at least for a couple of years, if nothing else. Which to them is amusing, because that's the only way they can experience normal life. Because what is life to a being that knows no beginning and no end, right? In their mind, there is no point. They can just keep going. For anybody else who gets born and dies as an old person, there is a beginning, there is an end. There is a finite number of days you go around, and you set out goals, you accomplish goals, or if stuff that you cannot accomplish, you just leave for the next generation to take care of. Damacy has no need for that. So the only frontier, as presented here at the end, is death. And that is... I'll get to that in a second. But the other thing being, because they lived for so long and mingled with so many different cultures and stuff, they kinda probably well, not just probably, they definitely influenced a lot of the world itself. The development of cultures and stuff like that. Cross-pollination, essentially, done by a single entity. That is insane. This character is insane. Also, can I have the shape-shifting ability for my videos, please? That would come in handy. Anyway, and the final frontier for this character being death, and then being reborn into 2? I wonder how to put it. They do say that 2 new Damatsi have been born after the original died. All of the originals died. Now I wonder if they mean it literally as a baby, or did 2 individuals come into being, like actual fully grown adults, now that they have experienced death. So, ooh, are we actually gonna meet them in the next chapter? That would be sick. I kinda wanna see how the new Damatsi is and works, and if they have still the same powers and everything. That is very exciting. But that will be for next time. Outside of that, a lot of movement. The airship we've seen is not powered by any kind of weird technology, but by just the... what's it called? Just by the Revenant itself, who is feeding itself probably on death and despair and everything. Who don't even want to go into that mumbo jumbo. Very interesting as well. I didn't stop during the narration, but Damatsi also addressed Banshee with Banshee, which I'm not 100% sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's actually from Old Irish, the way Damatsi addressed Banshee. Which, if you want to look it up, just look up the name, and you'll see what what will come up when you use Old Irish for the description of a Banshee. But yeah, also trying to think, was there anything more significant? Oh, the final thing being, this is also definitely the arc where Vina is and the Glasgows are definitely put so low to the ground. Like they are underground. They're not even low to the ground. They're under it. They're literally under it, and they need to crawl back up now. Like, holy shit, they went through some nasty stuff, especially with Bear dying and that all. But yeah, what else is there to say then? I'm looking forward to how this story is going to develop in the future. kal'tsit being back on her legs, very interesting. I was expecting, kinda, maybe in the back of my head, maybe this version will die and a new version will pop up, but I guess not. I guess we are gonna keep our old fossil around. Kinda appreciating that. I don't wanna be reacquainting myself with another kal'tsit, especially with the potential of the new kal'tsit being, even if she inherits the memories, being like a slightly different person with different agendas. No thanks. This one is already enough. And yeah, what else to say? Nothing much else. The other side characters were outside, some of them being the Damatsi cluster, which I already mentioned enough. The other ones are mostly returning characters. I already said enough about them. But yeah, we'll see how stuff develops between them, I guess. But yeah, overall, I love the chapter, and good lord, the depression at the end. I think after the recording is done and I smack this into the video editor, I will go over there and I will hug a pillow and get myself some tea. Holy shit! But anyway, predictions. Okay, so let's see. We had an interesting thing here at the end where the Lich, that Lich woman meets with Theresa, and they talk about dimensional powers or something like that, or dimensional knowledge, or shaping dimensions, whatever. Interesting. And apparently the forces on the field are already wielding it. But okay, first off, let's get one thing out of the way. Next chapter is 100% gonna be a confrontation with either the Nachtseher, maybe the Sanguine arc? I don't know, that guy kinda disappeared. That guy kinda disappeared since, when was the last time we saw in chapter 11? He kinda disappeared completely all of a sudden. I wonder where that fucker is, but I guess we'll see. Maybe he's gonna reappear in the next chapter, but I don't know. But yeah, definitely not a prediction. Next chapter we are definitely dealing with the Narrated army, because oh boy, they be coming. These ghoulish vampires are on the march. So that's not even a prediction, that's fact. But actual predictions. First off, the sword in Vina's possession. I more and more believe so, and I had a feeling for a long time. I can't remember if I said this already as well. I think the sword is just a symbol. I don't think the sword actually wields any power, outside of the fact that it's either just a symbol to rally the people to, which might actually happen in the next chapter, so big brain prediction. Vina is gonna wrap herself up again and rally the people under her leadership, with the sword as the symbol of Victoria. It could also be that the sword is a little key to operate something in the shard, as I think they mentioned a couple of times here and there that the sword is necessary for the shard. So I guess we'll see. Maybe it's the on and off switch. Turning the shard into an actual sword, that would be funny. That's that. Already said the Narrated stuff. Like I said, Sanguine arc, maybe? Maybe he's gonna pop up? I do feel like if we're also dealing with the Narrated army, and as we've seen in this last scene here on 1221, something about dimensional chaos, or dimensional fissures, or whatever the hell, I wonder how that is gonna come into fruition. Are we gonna just fall into a dimensional space of who the hell knows where and when? That would be sick. But I don't know, maybe? Sounds weird, but that's the only thing that comes to mind when I hear these words. Especially about like dimensional powers and stuff. Would be sick. Would love to see it. And yeah, I'll leave the chips on the table still for Allerdale somewhere appearing. I mean, the Steam Knight has appeared, so at least learning about her fate would maybe be in the cards. But maybe she's still alive, like I said. I'll leave the chips on the table. We'll see. And I don't know. I'm thinking. I don't even know what else could appear in the next chapter outside of maybe meeting the two new Damatsis. kal'tsit did say something. I guess she meant that the Damatsis are coming, the new ones, and that they are gonna meet them. Oh, we'll see, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not even gonna predict deaths this time, because I don't really know. The last chapter very well set up like the death for Golding, in my opinion, but I don't know right now. None of the characters in this chapter have raised like a so-called death flag. At least I haven't noticed anything on anybody so far that the signs are there. I sure hope not. This chapter was enough. This chapter was goddamn enough. But yeah, anyway, that's it, I guess, for predictions. Overall, good stuff, good preparation, good build-up, huge build-up for stuff to come, and we'll see where it leads to. And like I said as well at the beginning, the beginning of this ramble part, Lone Trail is around the corner, and oh boy, this is gonna be a story. And according to the graph I have been shown with the word count, oh boy, oh boy, I'm in danger. Anyway, this will be it for today's part. So thank you very much once again for listening. As I said before, please consider leaving a like on the video. It would help me out a lot. Subscribe if you're new. And of course there are memberships as well. And like I always say, there are not going to be any videos ever in the memberships. They are just literally there to support the channels, and also all the supers are available for that kind of stuff, so they are all on the table as an option if you want to support the channel. And of course, thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.
I'd like some information, please, to find the weakness of your enemies. From the shadows I can mark the breaks and take your failures as a front row seat to watch your knees shake, shake. I'll have my premonition, please. Your information doesn't mean a thing to me. I see the holes in your logic and the picture in your locket is the people you don't want. I'll give you 30 seconds head start to state your case before a bias court. When your sentence is delivered, I won't like your button silence. I'll accept what I've been trained for. It's no catastrophe when you run from me. All the rumors that surround you simply atrophy. It don't matter how dark I feel the heat in your heart, and it's screaming like a beacon. Now you're on my radar. I've spelled it out in ways you understand. I'll simply simplify my master plan. Talking to myself, spinning shadows into spells is the surest way to make it land. You can keep your day.